Hey there, this is Akshit Madan. Welcome back to a new video, and in this video we are going to see the complete proper roadmap of learning backend development, right? So we have already created a video. I've already published a video where I talked about proper steps of learning app development. So in that video also I talked about backend, but I focused more on front-end technologies. So I assume that you have already watched that video and now you know what is a proper roadmap of learning app development, basically front end, any software framework like Flutter or React. But do you know, in 2023 today's world, learning just front end is not necessary, right? Because front end ChatGPT can also code. If you'll just give it the image, it can also code the front end. So in 2023 I think that being a full stack engineer is actually a significant skill, right? So for being a full stack engineer you should also know backend. So in this video, we will be seeing what are the proper steps, what are the concepts that you should be knowing as a good backend engineer. But before that, I would like to notify you that I'm already out with one course. So if you guys are interested in learning Flutter, and that's also in Hindi, you can actually visit my website and you can purchase the course. The course is already out, it has already started. And in this course, I'm going to provide around 10 plus hours of recorded content where we will be seeing Flutter from beginner to advanced level, and at the end we will also be seeing block and provider at the end, and then I'm also going to host live doubt sessions, right? So you can actually enroll into the course. It's not that late, and so people have already joined it. They are enjoying. We have a separate Discord channel where doubt solving sessions are taken, so you must join it, right? So the link is in the description. You must check it out. Let's move ahead with the backend roadmap, right? So first of all, let's put the topic of the day, that is backend roadmap, right? So before we jump on the backend roadmap, you should be clear with one architecture, right? So first step I would say is learning about client server architecture, right? So before I jump on the backend concepts, this is the first concept I can say, right? So you should be knowing what is a client and what is a server, right? So let's take an example, right? So in this video I won't just be telling you the steps, but I'm also going to give you an overview of what is backend, or how to perceive backend, how to see backend, right? So client, so let's say client is basically the thing or the layer or the interface that users can see, that users can interact with. So I can say that your mobile app, your web app, right? Your mobile app, your web app are your clients, right? So this is my app that can be built in Flutter, that can be built in React, right? So this is my client. This is my client. And similarly, my website, my web app, right? My web app are also my client. So this is also my client, right? So now what is a server, and what is the need of separating client and server, right? So servers are basically the interface or the layers that are hidden from the user. Your customers don't actually know about your backend. So backend actually contains a logical implementation of your application, right? So let's say talking to your database or your payment integration, right? Or any logical stuff that you want to do, or store users information, or run a function to send notifications, right? So these are like services. We call them services. So an entity that runs services is called a server, that serves your client, that serves your application, mobile application or web application, right? So this is called server and this is called client. So I hope that you're clear with the clients and server architecture. So this is also sometimes considered as Web 2 architecture, where one client is there. That means this is my client app. It can be your mobile app, right? And this is your server, right? This is a simple computer, or this is a server, right? And a client sends a request to the server, right? And server sends a response to the client. That means, let's take an example. So this video can be a little longer, but after this video you will be totally clear with the backend concepts that you need to learn, right? So let's say I am building an e-commerce application. So obviously if I'm building an e-commerce application, I would like to see products in my application, right? So my client, as soon as the user is going to open the app, the client, the mobile application is going to send a request to the server that, hey, my user wants to fetch or see all the products. Please send me the products, right? So this is like a request. Server will say, okay, I'll go to my database, collect all the products and send it to you. So it will send all the responses. So over here, I'm going to start the second concept that you should be clear with after learning the client and server architecture. The second step is learning about JSON. So what is JSON? JSON is a standard of response, right? You can say a standard of response, or it is a data structure you can also consider, right? So you can see this is a response which is being sent by my server, right? So this is a response. Now server will say, okay, you can take this array, you can take this list of the products, or some other server will say, okay, you can take a dictionary of the products, right? Or you can take a linked list of the products. But this is not a standard way. My client will sometimes get array, my client will sometimes get a map, it will sometimes get a linked list, a stack or a tree. So my client will get confused. So there must be a standard, right, which must be followed by the servers to send the response data, right? So this is a standard JavaScript object notation, it is called, right? So this is JSON, which looks something like this. So your JSON will start and it will have a key value pair. So let's say this is my data, right? And it will have a list, then your ID. I'm just giving an example of JSON, how it looks, right? So it is basically a key value pair, right? So my data is there, which is a list of the products. This is my first product, right? My first product. So the product will have certain ID, product ID. Then it will have a name, the product name. It can be a string. Then it can have a price, right? And it can have a status, that whether it is sold out or not. So it can have a status, right? So this is also a string. So this is my first product. Then like this, I can have second product, I can have third product, right? So this is called JSON. You should be clear with it, right? So basically what happens is when your server sends you a JSON, when the server sends you this response containing your data, the significant data, this JSON is sent it to the client. Client can be your app. Now there, the client app can be written in JavaScript in case of web application, React application. The client app can be written in Flutter, so it will be a Dart. It can be written in AngularJS, right? So basically this JSON is converted into that language model. So let's say you have built the application in Flutter, then your JSON will be converted into a Dart model, right? Or if this is your React application, then this JSON will be converted into a React model, right? So now you have learned about JSON. So what is JSON? So now pause the video and comment in the description, comment in the comment section that what is the significance of JSON. If there is no JSON pattern, if there is no standardized pattern, then what will happen, right? So pause the video and answer this question, right? So now we have learned about two concepts, or this is like a hierarchy. This is the way in which you have to learn backend. So now you have learned about client server architecture, then you have learned about what is JSON. Now let's move on to the third part. Now this is not a backend concept, but this is a significant tool that you need to learn as a software developer, or you can say as a backend developer, right? That is nothing but GitHub, right? So this is a very, very important tool that every software developer should know. It is a version control system, right? So what is the significance of this? Why you should learn GitHub, and what is GitHub? What does GitHub do? So when you write a lot of code, right, or when you are working in a team, then mostly 2 or 3 developers will be working on a project, let's assume. Then let's say you change some code and tomorrow your friend or your colleague also change some code. Now you don't know which code is the right one, right? Or which code is going to work in the production environment, in the real environment. You don't know. So we need a version control system that if today you made some changes to your main code that was working, you made some changes or you added a new feature, then it should not hamper or it should not disturb the working directory. It should not disturb the working code, right? Because if the working code is again lost or it is again broken, then again you have to find the bug, you have to see what is the bug, or you have to again fix it, right? So that's why we need a version control system where main branches or the main branch is going to contain your production code or your real working code, right? And then let's say you are building a e-commerce application, then you must be coding a card service, or you will be coding a payment service, or you will be coding a product service, or whatever feature you are making. You can create separate branches. And when the branch is complete, when the feature is complete, you can merge this code into the main code, right? Simple, right? So this is called version control system. Like this, if your friend is also working on a separate feature, let's say profile feature, then he or she can also code this profile feature without disturbing you, because your code is not getting changed, right? Without disturbing you or your environment. And when he's done, his code is approved by the manager, then this code can also be merged into the main, right? So that's why this is important tool, and most of the companies are using GitHub. So to get an internship, to get a job, you should know GitHub, and it is a very important tool to learn as a backend developer or as any software developer, right? So now let's move on to the fourth thing that you should be knowing, that are Linux basics. At least Linux basics, at least. So now you know about client server architecture. You know what is a client, you know what is a server, you know what is GitHub, why to use GitHub, right? And you learned about Json. Now you should be learning Linux basics, right? So I won't go in Linux basics, right? So you can actually watch any 2 hours or 1 hour, 1.5 hour video also, and that will be enough for you to learn the next steps of backend, right? You should be learning about mkdir command, cd command, touch command, then ls command, right? So these are basic command I should be knowing. What is bash? What is what are environments, right? What is an env file? Or in GitHub you should be learning about .gitignore file, right? So what is .gitignore file? Then these are the basic commands I should be learning. How to create a bash profile file, right? So this you should be learning. Then you should also be learning with this thing only some basics of computer architecture, computer networks. So in computer networks, there is TCP protocol, there is UDP protocol. You should directly go after this video, and you should know what is TCP, what is UDP before starting the backend, right? So half of the internet is working on TCP. Your streamings, you watch Netflix, right? So there also streaming is there. And after this TCP, UDP, you should be learning what is HTTP. So these are like, what is HTTPS? What are simple protocols like FTP protocol, SMTP protocol, right? So if you are already a computer engineering student, then you should have learned this in your 3rd year or in your 2nd year in computer network subject. CN subject is there, right? So you don't need to actually go separately and learn it. It will be there in your syllabus, right? So you should be learning about these protocols. TCP is a protocol, UDP is a protocol, how streaming works, what is REST, right? What is SOAP, right? So REST and SOAP you should be learning. So you can consider, so if you need how many number of days you should be giving to this, I guess a week, right? So 2 or 3 days you can give it to Linux, 2 or 3 days you can give it to computer networks, right? So in 1 week you can actually learn the basics of computer networks and Linux, which are important for learning backend, right? So this was the next step that you should be learning. And if you also want to know that whatever roadmap I'm giving to you right now, how much time it will take to become a good backend developer, 6 months. I'm giving you direct time duration, direct timeline, 6 months. Consider 6 months and you can become a very good backend developer, right? So after this video, I'm also going to make another video on what are good projects that you can make as a backend developer. So I am not considering that part in this video. I'm just going to give the concepts in this video, right? So let's take the next step. Next step is how URLs are generated, or what are URLs, universal resource locator, right? So how URLs are generated. So you have to do this exercise. Go on amazon.com and on the top URL bar, right? Observe when you click on a product, you can see like this, www.amazon.com, right? So this is like a path. Till now it is working as a path. Then it can be like products, or it can be like anything. I don't know. It can be like V1 So this is till now we are having slashes, right? So this is like a simple path, right? Path of your server, path of your computer. So what is server? Server is nothing but someone else's computer, right? So you have to define the path of the server. So this is like the path of that server. Now after that, in your URL, when you click on buy now, or when you click on you search a product, right? So basically you are typing something and you want your server to return the data according to the search query that you have passed. So this is called a search query. You have written in your search box that, hey, I want to search for Mac, Apple Mac, right? So this is the data that you have written. Now you need to give this data to your server, so that server can actually search in the database. Okay, my user wants to search for MacBook. So is there any MacBook in the database? Yes. So basically you wrote some data, you provided that data to the server, did some logical thinking, and then it returned you the data, right? So basically you have to give some data to the server. So how you can pass it? So let's say this is like the path, and after that we have a query, right? After that you have a question mark, right? You have a question mark, and it can say like ID, or it can say like title, or it can say like product name, right? So whatever you have searched, it can do like this, right? And so this is like my first. So let's say my product name is Mac, so this will be passed. So this is like a query thing. I know that I'm taking it, or I'm explaining it in like a very high level method. So I don't consider that you will be learning everything from this video. You have to actually go and watch separate tutorials. So in this video I'm just going to give you the concepts, right? So Mac, then after that you can pass another query. So let's say you have applied some filters. So you can also provide filters data, so that your server only returns the data according to the filters that you have applied. So filters can be like price range. So price less than 100, you can pass it to the this URL. So this is how URLs are generated, and basically these URLs contain your path of the server, and they contain the queries or the data that you want to pass it to your server, right? So this is the next thing that you should be learning. Then after that you can actually start working on the real concepts. So these were the basic concept that every engineer should know, not just the backend developers. Now backend related concepts. So backend related concepts are REST, then HTTP, I've already explained it. Then you should be learning about methods in backend development. So they are get, post, put, patch, then delete, right? So these are the basic methods. What is get? So whenever you want some data from a server, right, you create a get request, right? You get a get request. So whenever you open the app and you want to see the products, so you will send a get request to your server. So this is like your client, and you will send a get request to your server saying that I want to fetch products, and your server is going to return you the list of that JSON, and that JSON is going to consist of all the products. So this is like when you don't want to pass any data to your server, you just want to fetch data from your server. So this is a get request. Similarly, we have post request. So let's say your user filled a form, and you want to save that form data to a database. So your form data will be sent to your server from the client, right? So over here you are sending some data to your server, right? So this is like your post request. Similarly, if you want to delete some data, so you can pass a delete request, right? Let's say you want to update some data, then you can pass a put request, right? So these were the basic methods, and using these methods you can actually create APIs. So what are APIs? APIs are application programming interfaces, right? So you should you can consider the same thing over here only. So you should be learning about REST, HTTP, get, post, put, patch, delete, and what is an API and how to construct APIs. After you have learned this, then I can say that you can actually start with or you can actually choose a programming language that you want to begin with, right? So according to my experience and according to the job market also, if you want to start with backend development, don't think here and there, start with Node Express. Start with Node Express. Don't think about Flask, Django, Spring Boot, or some people also ask, should I learn backend in Dart? So don't think about any other thing. Learn Node and Express. So they are one of the best frameworks, or one of the easiest frameworks to learn as a backend developer, right? So you can learn Node Express. So basically the language used is JS, or you can also use TypeScript, right? So you can use JavaScript and TypeScript, right? So basically most of the people learn backend after learning web development or after learning React. So you already have the experience of JS, that is JavaScript, and you can actually easily learn Node Express with JavaScript, and you can actually start making servers in Express using JavaScript, right? So you can now begin learning Node Express after learning the previous 6 things, right? Then you can start learning Node and Express, right? Now, some people ask me, how much time will it take to learn Node Express? So basically Node Express is not like theoretical part, right? By Node Express, I mean that you have to start making projects. So now you have to start making projects, right? So you can actually think that, or according to a general idea, 5 to 6 projects you have to make, or 5 to 6 servers you have to make in Express JS, and then you can think that you are actually ready to get an internship, right? So 5 to 6 good projects you can make. You can make scrapers, you can make integrations with MongoDB, MySQL, PostgreSQL, or you can integrate your payment service, right? You can integrate third-party service like MailChimp. You can integrate push notification, FCM push notification. You can integrate third-party API services like WhatsApp API, email, node mailer, SMTP. So all these projects you can make, and then you can say that you are good in Express. So this is the 7th thing that you have to learn. Now after that, or within this only, I can say that if you are making projects in Node Express, then you are actually also learning a database. So this is the next big thing. So database, I would say that you can learn Firebase, you can learn MongoDB, you can learn Postgres. Start with one. I'm going to give you which you should begin with, and you have to learn MySQL. So if you have learned these 4 databases, your college life is sorted, your initial job life is sorted, right? So start with MongoDB. This is the best choice I can give to you to begin with Node and Express servers or your projects. So start with MongoDB. Firebase is quite easy, and it's not that much useful in job world. So it's good for your simple projects, for your college projects, but MongoDB is actually used by the companies. And obviously MySQL and PostgreSQL are one of the best choices, right? So database is your next thing. And after that, you can learn caching, or I can say that you can learn load balancing, or you can learn basics of system design, or you can start learning system design, right? So in system design, we have load balancers, we have caching. So over here we use RDS, not RDS, we have Redis. Then you can use memcached, right? Then you can learn about concepts like messaging queue, right? So how your services or your tasks are actually scheduled, right? So let's say you want to send a notification, or your server is sending multiple notifications or multiple emails to your clients. So obviously they won't be sent in just a second, right? It is going to take some time. So basically the notifications are scheduled, your emails are scheduled, right? So basically you have to use a messaging queue. So one by one, they are going to get into your service, and they will be delivered to your different clients or to different users, right? So one by one, they are going to come to your service or your server. So this is called MQ, that is messaging queue, right? So over here, some advanced things have started. You can actually learn system design to become a very good engineer, right? So you can learn about Redis. So these are all the small tools that you can explore, or we can see all this in system design video, right? So I'm also thinking to start system design, like teaching system design on my channel, because it is one of the like right hand or left hand of a software engineer, right? Without system design, you can't be a good software engineer, right? So you can start learning system design now, right? So obviously the backend does not complete without learning cloud, right? So this is the 10th thing that you have to learn, or it's not necessary to learn. Obviously the companies have separate cloud engineers, they have separate DevOps engineers, and it won't be expected from you to do backend also, to make or create servers also, and also work on the cloud side or on the virtualization side, right? It won't be expected, but it is good thing to know what is happening around you, right? If you are a software developer, obviously you should know front end also. Obviously you should know system design, cloud, DevOps also, right? So that you should know what is happening around you, how the complete product is built. So that if you also think of creating your own software one day, on a startup one day, you should know who is doing what. Otherwise, they will make you a fool, right? So you should know what is going around you. So cloud, we have various choices. You can learn GCP, you can learn basics. I'm not telling you to get a certification, but at least learn the basics. You can learn GCP, you can learn AWS, you can learn Azure. These are the top market leaders, right? Obviously, I will suggest you to go with AWS, and right. So you can start with AWS. In AWS, you should obviously be knowing what is an EC2, what are S3 buckets, right? Then ELBs. Then you have RDS service, right? So there are various services, but obviously like top 3 or 4 if you know, then you can actually put AWS in your resume, and you can answer some basic questions of the interviewer, right? So cloud will be the next thing. Then you can, if you, after learning backend, after getting a lot of experience in backend, if you think that you want to upgrade yourself, then you can learn DevOps, but this is like an optional thing, right? You can learn DevOps, you can learn about CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous deployment. Then you can learn tools like Docker. Obviously, you will require Docker as a backend developer also. You can learn Kubernetes, right? Or you can learn Ansible, then Terraform. So these are like DevOps tools. So I should actually cover this part in DevOps video, but I'm giving you an idea, an overview, right? Ansible, Terraform, you should be knowing advanced AWS services also, right? So I am not telling you to learn this right now. Let's focus on backend. Now, apart from this, now if this will be significant, or this will be advantages for those people who are still watching this video. It's quite getting long, I know. I have missed some of the concept that should be knowing as a backend developer. You should know how to host your server on Heroku or on Render, right? Or on AWS service, right? Or on DigitalOcean, right? Or on Netlify, which I know you will already be knowing, right? So these are like some of the services that you can actually use to host your service, to host your application, right? Then you should be knowing concepts like what are webhooks, right? So they are like promises that third-party services actually use it to promise yourself that, okay, if this service will be completed successfully, then I'm going to update something, or I'm going to update you. So this is like webhooks. Then you have WebRTC, right? WebRTC is behind audio calls, video calls, right? Screen sharing. So you can actually make a project using WebRTC, or you can use WebSockets. So WebSockets is a concept behind chat messages application, WhatsApp, or any application you can consider, right? So webhooks, WebRTC, WebSockets, these are some of the good concepts that you should be knowing, or you should have made projects on as a good backend developer. So I think it's time to wrap up the video, and obviously you can ask me doubts, and do check out the Flutter Hindi course that have already been out. And if you want me to create another course on any other tech stack, put me in the comment section. I'll definitely try to make it ASAP, right? So till the next content, keep coding, keep innovating, and thanks a lot.